Built from the slow burn refusal, child catalyst, buried clue, costly setback, quiet vindication, and belonging-focused structure in your uploaded framework. The first warning was not an alarm. It was dust. A thin gray line circled the screws beneath the 29th floor conference room, the kind of mark left when someone opened a floor panel and replaced it without cleaning the edges. Eli Mercer noticed it because cleaning edges was his job. Celeste Rowan noticed him because he interrupted the most important board meeting in her company's history. "Ma'am," Eli said from the doorway, holding a trash liner in one hand. "The network cabinet under this room has been opened." Every face at the glass table turned toward him. Celeste's expression did not change. She was 38, founder and chief executive of Vera Systems, and had spent 15 years teaching rooms like this one not to underestimate her. Now a man in a gray janitorial uniform was speaking while she negotiated the survival of her billion-dollar company. "We are in a confidential meeting," she said. "I understand. Then why are you still standing there?" "Because no maintenance work was scheduled beneath this room." The board chairman glanced impatiently at Celeste. She felt heat rise behind her neck. The representatives from Halcyon Capital were watching through the video wall. Investors were waiting for Vera to prove that its new infrastructure platform could protect airports, hospitals, and power grids from a coordinated cyber attack. Any sign of disorder could cost the company hundreds of millions of dollars. Celeste looked at Eli's uniform, the cleaning cart behind him, and the old flashlight clipped to his belt. "You're just a janitor," she said. "Call building maintenance and let qualified people handle it." The room went silent. Eli looked at her for one long second. Then he nodded. 4 minutes later, every screen in Vera's headquarters turned black. And before anyone else understood what was happening, the janitor Celeste had dismissed was running toward the system that could destroy her entire empire. Stay with this story, because what Eli found beneath that floor was only the beginning. And if you have ever seen someone underestimated because of the work they do, tap like and tell me where you are watching from. Eli had not planned to become a janitor. 8 years earlier, he had been a network resilience engineer for a regional telecommunications company. He designed backup systems that kept emergency lines working during storms, fires, and power failures. He had a good salary, a small house outside Chicago, a wife named Dana who could make him laugh when he was too tired to realize he was angry, and a daughter who believed her father could repair anything. Then, on a wet November night, Dana called him from a highway rest stop. The rain had turned to sleet. Traffic was slowing. She wanted him to leave work and meet her at home. Eli had been helping restore a failed communications hub. He told her he would be another hour. She said she understood. Dana always said she understood. 27 minutes later, a truck crossed the median. Eli did not remember the drive to the hospital. He remembered a police officer asking him to sit down. He remembered the wet shoulders of his coat. He remembered his daughter, Nora, asleep at a neighbor's house while he signed papers he could not read. Dana died before sunrise. Nora was 3. For the next year, Eli continued working because work was the only place where problems followed rules. A server failed for a reason. A cable broke somewhere. A signal could be traced. Grief did not behave that way. Grief appeared in grocery store aisles and school parking lots. It waited inside Dana's coffee cup and the winter coat hanging behind the door. It woke Nora at night and made her ask questions Eli could not answer. Why did Mommy leave? Could she hear them? Would Eli leave too? He began missing night calls, then weekend shifts, then deadlines. His employer offered sympathy until sympathy became inconvenience. When Eli refused a transfer that required constant travel, the company eliminated his position. He found contract work, then temporary work, then no work at all for several months. The janitorial position at Vera paid less than half of his engineering salary, but it came with stable hours. Eli worked from 5 in the evening until 1 in the morning. He could collect Nora from school, prepare dinner, take her to Mrs. Alvarez downstairs, and return before breakfast. It was not the life he had imagined. But imagination did not pay rent. For almost 2 years, Eli cleaned the upper floors of Vera Systems without telling anyone that he understood the equipment behind the walls better than many of the people using it. He emptied executive trash cans filled with discarded reports. He polished tables where people discussed contracts worth more than he would earn in a lifetime. He cleaned glass walls after strategy meetings and reset chairs after arguments. People spoke freely around him because they did not believe the person holding the mop mattered. Eli learned more about Vera by being ignored than he would have learned from an annual report. The company's software coordinated traffic through ports, emergency supply chains, hospital inventories, and regional energy systems. Its value had passed $1 billion the previous year. Its newest platform, Sentinel Mesh, was supposed to protect connected infrastructure from coordinated attacks. If one hospital network failed, Sentinel would isolate the breach before it reached the next. If one power station lost control, the system would prevent the error from spreading. That morning, Vera was demonstrating Sentinel to federal officials, international investors, and Halcyon Capital, the private equity firm offering to purchase a minority stake. Celeste Rowan had rejected 3 earlier offers. This 4th offer was different. Vera needed money. A delayed government contract and 2 expensive product recalls had placed pressure on the company's cash reserves. If the demonstration succeeded, Halcyon would invest $800 million while Celeste retained control. If it failed, Vera's lenders could demand immediate restructuring. That was why the board meeting had begun before sunrise. It was also why Eli had been assigned to clean the executive floor while the building remained occupied. He noticed the dust ring at 8:41. He had cleaned the same floor panel the night before. At the time, the screws had been undisturbed. Someone had opened it between 1 a.m. and the start of the meeting. Eli crouched beside the panel. A faint electrical warmth rose through the seam. He placed 2 fingers against the metal. The panel was warmer than the surrounding floor. That should not have been possible. The cabinet below contained passive network lines, not powered equipment. Eli stood, crossed to the conference room, and interrupted Celeste. She dismissed him. He returned to the service corridor and called building maintenance. No one answered. He called Vera's internal technology desk. The line placed him on hold. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. Eli looked toward the elevators. The digital floor indicators froze. His cleaning cart's automatic supply scanner disconnected from the building network. His phone lost its internal signal. That was not a power failure. It was network isolation. Someone was cutting sections of the building away from Vera's central system. Eli dropped the trash liner. The first emergency alarm sounded as he reached the floor panel. It was not a fire alarm. A recorded voice announced that Vera's secure network had detected unauthorized encryption. Inside the conference room, the demonstration screens turned black. A red message appeared. System integrity failure. Replication in progress. Eli removed the screwdriver from his cart. The floor panel was secured with specialized fasteners, but cleaning crews carried universal building tools for spill access and utility emergencies. He opened the panel. A bundle of network cables ran through the space below. Clipped between 2 legitimate lines was a device no larger than a pack of cards. Black casing. Green indicator. Short-range wireless antenna. A rogue bridge. Someone had physically connected it to the executive network. Eli understood the attack immediately. The device was not merely stealing data. It was impersonating Vera's internal backup system. Every file encrypted by the attacker was being copied into what the software believed was a secure recovery archive. When the real servers failed, Vera would restore the infected copies. The company would have no clean source code, no operational platform, no reliable customer records. Sentinel Mesh would be destroyed from both directions. Eli pulled the bridge from the cable. The green light remained on, battery powered. The device had already created a path somewhere else in the building. He ran. 2 security officers stepped out of the stairwell. Stop. The backup node has to be isolated. What? Someone connected a rogue bridge beneath the conference room. One officer reached for Eli's arm. Eli pulled away. If replication completes, every clean backup will be overwritten. We have an emergency technology team. Where are they? The officers looked toward the dark screens. Neither answered. The attack had locked badge access to the technology floor. Elevators were frozen. Internal phones were failing. Eli pushed through the stairwell door. Call them while you follow me. The primary data center occupied the 19th floor. The clean backup node was located on 16. Eli knew because he had watched contractors install the cooling system 6 months earlier. The installation crew had damaged a ceiling panel, and Eli had spent half a night clearing insulation dust from the corridor. He reached the 16th floor in less than 2 minutes. The secure door did not recognize his badge. Eli opened the emergency fire cabinet beside it. Inside was a mechanical release protected by a numbered seal. Breaking the seal would trigger a security report. He broke it. The door opened. A row of server cabinets filled the dark room. Yellow lights flashed across the equipment. The backup system was receiving files faster than it could verify them. Eli found the replication controller. A screen displayed the progress. 81%. He could not stop the transfer through software. The attacker controlled the interface. He could disconnect the network, but the local storage would continue processing the infected files already received. He needed to shut down the node completely. That could damage the archive. It could also save the part that had not yet been overwritten. Eli reached behind the controller. A security officer caught his shoulder. "Do not touch that." Eli pointed at the screen. 14% of the archive is still clean. You are not authorized. Nobody with authorization can get through the doors. We wait for technology personnel. Replication reached 83%. If we wait, there will be nothing left to recover. The officer tightened his grip. Eli looked directly at him. "Either remove me from this room or let me save the system." The officer hesitated. That hesitation was enough. Eli hit the emergency isolation switch. The room went silent. Every fan stopped at once. The server lights disappeared. The darkness felt physical. For 3 seconds, no one moved. Then the building's emergency lights came on. A voice behind Eli said, "What have you done?" Celeste stood in the doorway. Her board chairman, Adrian Cade, was beside her. 2 technology executives and several security officers crowded the corridor. Celeste's face had lost all color. Eli released the switch. "I stopped the backup node. You shut down our recovery system during an attack." "Yes. Do you understand what that system contains?" "Yes. Our source code. Customer records. Government security projects." "Yes. You may have destroyed them. If I had not shut it down, the attacker would have replaced every clean file with an infected copy." The head of technology pushed past him and examined the controller. "How do you know?" "The replication source was false. That is impossible." There was a physical bridge under the executive conference room. Celeste looked at the security officer. "Did you find a device?" The officer held up the black unit. The technology director took it. His expression changed. "Where was this connected?" "Network line C14, Eli said. "That line should terminate at the demonstration control room." "It does." Someone split the connection. The director hurried toward the console. "The system is offline." Eli pointed toward the disconnected power assembly. "Do not restart it on the main network." The director looked offended. "I know how to manage my own servers." "Then you know the node must be inspected before it reconnects." Adrian Cade stepped into the room. He was 51, Vera's chief operating officer, and the board member Celeste trusted more than anyone else. His voice remained calm. "Celeste, we need to remove unauthorized personnel and let our experts work." Celeste stared at Eli. Minutes earlier, she had called him just a janitor in front of the board. Now the same man stood beside the only archive that might still contain her company's clean source code. "What percentage remained?" she asked. "Approximately 14%. That is not enough to restore the entire company." "No, then you did not save it." Eli met her eyes. "I saved the part they had not reached." The technology director opened a local diagnostic port. His fingers moved across the keyboard. 14.6% of the archive was not processed. Celeste turned. "Is it clean?" "I cannot confirm that yet." "Can the source code be reconstructed from it?" "Possibly, if the development repositories outside this node were isolated before the attack." "Were they?" The director did not answer. Celeste looked at Eli again. He had dust on one knee and a cut across his right hand from the fire cabinet seal. He did not appear proud. He appeared worried. Not about himself, About the machines. What else did you see? She asked. The attack disabled sections of the building in sequence. Meaning? Someone had access to the building automation network in Veyra's corporate system. Those are supposed to be separated. They are separated. They were separated. Adrian's voice sharpened. That is speculation. Eli looked at him. The conference room bridge was connected to a building control line. That is not speculation. Celeste felt every person in the room waiting for her decision. The federal observers were still upstairs. Investors were asking whether the demonstration failure represented a real weakness in Sentinel Mesh. The board was gathering. The press would learn within the hour. Celeste could not afford uncertainty. Security will take your statement, she told Eli. The archive, our technology team will handle it. They need to check the cooling controller before restarting. The technology director looked at the nearest cabinet. Why? The room temperature display remained normal while the corridor network failed. This room should have generated a high temperature warning when the fan stopped. The system was under attack. Or the attacker already controlled the environmental sensors. Celeste heard Adrian exhale. Enough? Eli looked at Celeste. She saw no fear in his face, only insistence. That irritated her because she could not decide whether it came from courage or arrogance. You have done enough, she said. Go with security. Eli nodded. As he walked toward the door, the folded paper crane inside his shirt pocket fell to the floor. Celeste noticed it because it was bright purple against the gray carpet. Eli did not. She watched him disappear down the corridor. Then she picked up the crane. Across one wing, a child had written in uneven black letters, Dad, check the quiet things. Celeste folded the wing closed before anyone else could read it. The next 6 hours were the worst in Veyra's history. The attack had encrypted 62% of the company's development network and corrupted most of the primary backups. The emergency shutdown Eli triggered preserved a partial archive containing authentication keys, core algorithms, and a month-old version of Sentinel Mesh. It was not enough for a simple restoration. It was enough to rebuild. The environmental controller had also been compromised. When the technology team attempted to restart the system, the cooling units remained disabled while the sensors reported a safe temperature. Had the director ignored Eli's warning, the remaining servers would have overheated within minutes. Celeste learned this during a crisis meeting at 4 p.m. She sat at the head of the same glass table where she had dismissed him. The floor panel beside the wall remained open. Adrian Cade stood near the video screen. We contained the attack, he said. We did not contain it, Celeste replied. A member of the cleaning staff prevented total loss. Adrian's expression tightened. A former telecommunications technician working as a janitor made a reckless decision that happened to help us. Happened? He had no authority to enter the backup room. He understood what your technology director did not. Our director was locked out of the floor. Because our security system failed. Because we were attacked by sophisticated actors. Celeste placed the purple crane on the table. Who knew about this demonstration? The board, senior leadership, the Federal Review Team, Halcyon, and dozens of employees. Who had physical access to the conference room network? Facilities, security, technology staff, external contractors. And cleaning staff. Adrian glanced at the crane. Yes, Celeste understood the implication. Eli could have planted the device. He knew the building. He had technical experience he had not disclosed. He had reached the backup node before Veyra's own executives. He had then shut down the only archive that might prove what happened. Where is he? She asked. Security released him after taking a statement. Why? We had no basis to detain him. Is he working tonight? Adrian looked at the security director. No, the director said. His building access has been suspended during the investigation. Who authorized that? I did, Adrian answered. It was necessary. Celeste looked at the open floor panel. The insult she had delivered that morning returned to her. Just a janitor. She had said it because Eli interrupted her. She had said it because investors were watching. She had said it because people at the table had titles. And he did not. Her mother had cleaned offices when Celeste was a child. That fact was not included in company biographies. Public profiles said Celeste came from a working-class family in Illinois. They did not describe her waiting at night in empty lobbies while her mother scrubbed coffee stains from conference tables. They did not describe executives leaving trash beside overflowing bins while speaking to her mother as though she were part of the furniture. When Celeste was 14, an accountant dropped a folder near the elevator. Her mother picked it up and called after him. He did not turn around. He simply raised one hand and said, "Leave it with reception." Celeste never forgot the anger she felt. She had promised herself she would build a life where no one could dismiss her mother again. That morning, she had become the person in the suit. She picked up the paper crane. "Bring Eli Mercer back." Adrian frowned. "For what purpose?" "I want him to explain everything he saw. He has already provided a statement. I do not want a security summary. I want his explanation." "Celeste, investigators need distance from potential suspects. Do you believe he caused the attack?" "I believe we should not allow emotion to replace procedure." "What emotion?" "Gratitude." Celeste stared at him. Adrian lowered his voice. He may have saved part of the archive. He may also have known exactly where the attack would spread. "Call him." "His access has been suspended." "Then unsuspend it." The request reached Eli at 6:12 that evening while he was preparing boxed macaroni in a 2-bedroom apartment 3 train stops from Veyra's headquarters. Nora sat at the kitchen table folding another paper crane. The apartment was small but orderly. Eli had built shelves from discarded lumber and repaired the refrigerator twice rather than replace it. Dana's photograph stood beside a potted plant near the window. In it, she was laughing at something outside the frame. Nora held up the crane. "This one is green." "I see that. It is for tomorrow." "What happens tomorrow?" "I have a spelling test." "I thought the cranes were for me." "They can do 2 jobs. That is efficient." Nora folded one wing carefully. "Did the meeting lady listen to you?" "Eventually, was she mean?" Eli stirred the macaroni. "She was under pressure." "That does not answer it." He smiled despite himself. "She said something unkind." "What?" "It doesn't matter. It matters if it hurt." Eli turned off the stove. "She called me just a janitor." Nora looked at his uniform. "But you are a janitor." "I am." "So why was it mean?" "Because of how she said it." Nora considered this. "Like when someone says little kid?" "Exactly. I don't like that." "Neither do I." "Did you tell her?" "No. Why?" "She had a bigger problem." Nora looked dissatisfied. "You can have 2 problems." Eli's phone rang. A Veyra attorney asked him to return for a formal technical interview. He looked at the clock. Mrs. Alvarez was visiting family. His usual backup sitter was unavailable. "I have my daughter with me. We can arrange transportation. That does not solve the daughter part." The attorney paused. "Ms. Rowan said you may bring her if necessary." 25 minutes later, Eli and Nora entered Veyra through the public lobby. The security staff searched his toolbox. They examined Nora's backpack. She watched them closely. "Are you looking for snacks?" she asked. The security officer almost smiled. "No, there are crackers in the front pocket." "Thank you." Eli touched her shoulder. "Remember what we discussed? No personal questions." "And?" "Stay close." They reached the executive conference room. Celeste stood beside the open floor panel. She had removed her jacket and rolled her sleeves to the elbow. Her dark hair, perfect that morning, had begun to loosen around her face. Nora whispered, "She looks tired." Celeste heard, "I am tired." Nora looked surprised that she answered. Eli extended his hand. "You asked me to return." Celeste looked at his hand, then shook it. "I did." Her eyes moved to Nora. "And you are?" "Nora Mercer. I'm 8. Dad says I'm not supposed to ask personal questions." Celeste glanced at Eli. "That sounds like a wise rule. It is temporary." Celeste nearly smiled. Nora noticed the purple crane on the table. "You found it." Celeste looked down. "It fell from your father's pocket." "I make them for him." "Why?" Nora shrugged. "Because he forgets to notice good things when he is worried." Celeste looked at Eli. He had already moved toward the floor panel. "What do you need from me?" he asked. She held out the rogue bridge inside an evidence bag. "I need to understand how this entered our system." Eli studied the device without touching it. Was it opened? No. The battery may contain a timestamp. Our specialists are examining it. Did they check the mounting clip? Celeste looked at the security director. He stepped closer. What about it? The clip is not standard. It may have fibers from whatever it was attached to before the network cable. The director examined the bag. A thin blue thread was caught inside the metal hinge. Our conference room carpet is gray, Celeste said. Eli nodded. The device was prepared somewhere else. Adrian entered the room. He stopped when he saw Nora. This is not an appropriate place for a child. Nora looked at him. My sitter is away. Adrian ignored her. He turned to Celeste. Halcyon has requested an emergency call. They are considering withdrawing the investment. Tell them we will speak tomorrow. They want an explanation tonight. They will receive one when we have facts. Adrian looked at Eli. We are relying on janitorial speculation now? Eli's expression did not change. Celeste's did. This morning I made the mistake of treating his occupation as evidence of his ability, she said. I will not repeat it. Adrian folded his arms. His employment records show that he worked in network systems. He failed to disclose that experience. The application did not ask whether I had worked in another field, Eli said. It asked for your employment history. I provided the required 5 years. Why would an engineer become a janitor? Nora answered before Eli could. My mom died. The room became still. Adrian looked uncomfortable. Nora continued. Dad needed a job where he could take me to school. Eli placed one hand on her shoulder. That is enough. Celeste watched Adrian's eyes drop. She understood something then. People were comfortable questioning a man's fall until a child gave the fall a face. Eli crouched beside the panel. The person who installed this understood your physical network, but not your cleaning schedule. Celeste joined him. How do you know? The dust around the screws. You mentioned that. I cleaned this panel last night. Whoever opened it assumed the marks would go unnoticed. Why would anyone notice marks around screws? A person responsible for cleaning them. Celeste felt the lesson land. Quietly, painfully, what else? Eli pointed into the opening. The bridge was connected with a short black cable. Vera uses white cables for executive floor internal lines. Could it have come from an outside contractor? Yes, but the attacker knew line C14 connected to the demonstration room. Who would know that? Someone with network diagrams. Or someone who watched the original installation. Adrian shook his head. Thousands of pages of technical plans were shared with vendors. Eli looked toward him. This line was changed 3 months ago. Celeste turned. Why? The technology director answered from across the room. We rerouted it during the conference room renovation. Who approved the change? Operations, all eyes moved toward Adrian. He remained calm. My department approved hundreds of building changes. Celeste looked back at Eli. Does that prove anything? No. Adrian gave a small, humorless smile. At least he admits it. Eli removed his flashlight. It was an older metal model with cracked glass near the rim. A strip of silver tape reinforced the base. Nora watched him switch it on. Celeste noticed her attention. Is that flashlight important? It belonged to my mother, Nora said. Eli directed the light into the floor cavity. Dana carried it in her car. Celeste realized Dana had been his wife. She wanted to say she was sorry. The sentence seemed too easy. Instead, she asked, why do you still use it? Eli moved the beam slowly across the cables. It still works. The answer remained with her. The flashlight revealed a shallow scrape along the interior frame. Eli reached into his toolbox and removed a cotton swab. May I? The security director nodded. Eli collected a small amount of pale blue residue. Paint? Celeste asked. Possibly. Adrian checked his watch. We are losing time. The real question is whether the remaining archive can restore Sentinel. It can't, the technology director said. Not alone. The room fell silent. How much is missing? Celeste asked. Most of the interface layer and the updated security libraries. Do clean development copies exist? Individual engineers may have local versions, but company policy requires all primary work to remain in secured repositories. Eli stood. Your engineers will have copies. The director looked irritated. Did you hear what I said? Yes, people still keep working files. That would violate policy. People violate policies when policies slow them down. Celeste looked at the director. Contact every development lead. Ask for local builds, offline test copies, presentation versions, training packages, anything. That could take days. Begin now. Adrian stepped closer to her. Even if they reconstruct the platform, customers may no longer trust it. Then we earn back their trust. Halcyon will not wait. Then Halcyon can leave. You cannot fund recovery without them. Celeste stared at him. You sound very certain. I understand our financial position. So do I. Then you know this attack may force a sale. There was something in the way he said it. Not fear. Not grief. Acceptance, as though the outcome had already been priced. Eli heard it too. He looked at Adrian. Adrian noticed. What? Nothing, then stopped staring. Nora stood beside the conference table, touching none of the expensive equipment. She looked at Celeste. Does everybody here talk like they are fighting? Celeste considered the question. Most days. Why? Because they care about different things. Nora looked toward Eli. Dad says caring about different things is not the same as caring about different people. Adrian exhaled. This is exactly why children do not belong in boardrooms. Celeste's voice became cold. No, this is exactly why some boardrooms need them. Adrian left. For the next 3 nights, Eli worked beside Veyra's technology team. He remained officially suspended from janitorial duties, but Celeste hired him as an independent systems advisor under a 7-day contract. The title made him uncomfortable. The salary made him suspicious. He reduced it before signing. Celeste read the edited contract. You removed half the fee. The original amount is excessive. I decided the amount. I decided what my work costs. You are negotiating against yourself. I am avoiding owing you. You would not owe me. You would provide a service. The service does not cost this much. Celeste looked at him. You are difficult. I have heard that. From whom? My daughter. Across the office, Nora raised her hand. It's true. Celeste lowered her eyes to hide the beginning of a smile. The rebuild moved slowly. Engineers delivered private test copies of Sentinel from laptops, encrypted drives, and forgotten development servers. Some were weeks old. Others contained experimental changes that had never been approved. Eli created a recovery map. Instead of trusting file names, he compared internal build signatures, timestamps, and dependency records. He found 3 versions containing hidden corruption. The attacker had prepared the breach months earlier. This was not a single intrusion, Eli told Celeste. They were alone in her office after midnight. A storm moved across the city, pressing rain against the windows. This person has been inside your development process for at least 11 weeks. How? Possibly through a supplier account. Our suppliers have limited access. Limited is not the same as none. Celeste rubbed her eyes. A framed magazine cover on the wall showed her standing inside Veyra's first major data center. The headline called her the woman who taught machines to survive. Now her company depended on a man who emptied her trash cans. She hated the irony because she deserved it. Why did you not tell anyone you were an engineer? She asked. Who would I tell? Human resources. For a cleaning position? You might have qualified for technology work. I applied twice. Celeste looked up. When? 14 months ago, and again last spring. What happened? No interview. That does not make sense. My recent experience was janitorial work. The screening system rejected the application. Our screening system? Yes, Celeste stared at him. Veyra sold artificial intelligence designed to find hidden value inside complex networks. Its own system had looked at Eli Mercer and found nothing. She turned toward her computer. I can review, no. She stopped. I was going to examine the applications. I know. You should have received an interview. Maybe you were qualified. I was also out of the field for years. You understood the attack before my security leadership. That does not mean I was ready to manage a department. What did you want? A chance to speak to a person. Celeste leaned back. The answer felt larger than his application. Why did you stay after being rejected? The cleaning job paid on time. That is all? It let me care for Nora. Celeste glanced through the glass wall. Nora slept on a sofa in the outer office, beneath a blanket Inez had brought from the residence lounge. A green paper crane rested beside her hand. You should take her home. We are waiting for the archive scan. You could return tomorrow. So could you. This is my company. She is my daughter. Celeste looked at him. Then why is she sleeping in an office? The question came out sharper than she intended. Eli's face closed. My sitter became ill. I asked whether she could come. You approved it. That was not what I meant. What did you mean? Celeste did not know. She had seen the exhaustion in his face. She had seen him warm Nora's dinner in the employee kitchen and help with mathematics homework while checking corrupted code. Perhaps she was angry because he kept choosing both responsibilities, while Celeste had built her entire life by choosing only one. I meant you do not have to prove anything by remaining here. I am not proving anything. Then leave. The scan finishes in 40 minutes. Someone else can review it. Someone else missed the corrupted builds. Her voice rose. You believe no one can do this without you? No. Then what is it? Eli looked through the glass at Nora. When Dana called me that night, I told myself the work could not continue without me. Celeste said nothing. It continued, he said. She didn't. The rain struck the windows. Eli's voice remained level. I am not staying because Vera needs me more than Nora does. I am staying because Nora asked to stay until we finished. She knows what I am doing. She knows where I am. He looked at Celeste. I learned the difference. Celeste turned away. She thought about her own mother. Elena Rowan had cleaned legal offices at night and stocked grocery shelves during the day. She often brought Celeste to work because childcare cost more than she earned. Celeste studied beside supply closets and slept beneath reception desks. Her mother apologized constantly. Sorry for the noise. Sorry for the inconvenience. Sorry my child is here. The people who owned the offices never apologized for paying her too little to afford another option. Celeste had promised herself she would become powerful enough never to apologize for existing. Somewhere along the way, she had begun demanding that everyone around her apologize instead. I should not have called you just a janitor, she said. Eli remained silent. I was embarrassed that you interrupted me in front of the board. That is not an apology. No, Celeste faced him. I treated your job as though it determined the value of your warning. I knew better. I did it anyway. I am sorry. Eli studied her. Nora shifted beneath the blanket in the outer office. Thank you, he said. Celeste had expected forgiveness. He gave her acknowledgement. Nothing more. It was strangely relieving. The archive scan finished 36 minutes later. The recovered files contained 72% of Sentinel mesh, enough for the engineers to rebuild the missing layers within 3 weeks. Vera did not have 3 weeks. A clause inside its lending agreement required the company to certify operational continuity within 10 business days after any material security failure. If Vera could not certify Sentinel, its lenders could freeze the emergency credit line. Adrian presented the deadline during a board meeting. His solution was simple. Sell controlling interest to Halcyon Capital. Halcyon is prepared to provide immediate liquidity, he said. The transaction would protect employees and customers. Celeste looked around the table. And remove me as chief executive. You would remain as a technical advisor. A ceremonial title. A respected position. Without authority. Adrian folded his hands. The company cannot survive another gamble. Celeste understood why the directors were listening. Thousands of jobs depended on Vera. Hospitals and public agencies depended on its software. Rejecting Halcyon could look like pride. Accepting meant surrendering the company she had built. Eli sat against the wall as a technical observer. He watched the directors. Most looked afraid. Adrian did not. Celeste noticed that too. What happens to Sentinel after the acquisition? She asked. Halcyon will merge the platform with its existing infrastructure portfolio. Our public safety division? Reviewed for efficiency, meaning cut, meaning evaluated. The accessibility research laboratory? Not part of the core transaction. The rural hospital program? Adrian's patience thinned. We cannot preserve every project. Those projects are why Vera exists. No, Vera exists to generate sustainable value. Celeste looked at him. There it was. The difference. She had built Vera to prove that critical systems could serve people ignored by larger companies. Adrian had helped turn it into an empire. He no longer cared why the empire existed. The vote was scheduled for Friday. 4 days. As the meeting ended, Eli remained seated. Celeste gathered her papers. You disagree, she said. With what? The sale. I do not have enough information. That has not prevented you from offering opinions before. Eli looked at the financial projections. Adrian knew the lender's response before the attack. He is chief operating officer. He negotiated the original credit agreement? Yes. And he manages the Halcyon relationship? Yes. Celeste went still. You believe he arranged this? I believe the person who benefits from an emergency deserves examination. That is not evidence. No, Adrian has been with Vera for 11 years. I know. He helped raise our first institutional investment. I know. He stood beside me through lawsuits, recalls, and 2 failed product launches. Eli nodded. Then you should hope I'm wrong. Celeste stared at him. Adrian was not merely an executive. He was the closest thing she had to family inside Vera. When her mother died, Adrian handled investors while Celeste remained at the hospital. When Celeste's engagement ended, he removed her former fiancé from a company retreat without asking questions. When Vera nearly collapsed in its 3rd year, Adrian sold his apartment and invested the money. Suspicion felt like betrayal. Not his. Hers. Do not accuse him without proof, she said. I didn't. You implied it. I described the pattern. You see patterns everywhere. That is why you hired me. Celeste picked up the purple crane. Sometimes people are loyal. Yes, do you believe that? Eli looked through the glass at Nora drawing at a nearby desk. Yes. Then why is your first instinct suspicion? It isn't. What is? To check the quiet thing. The words came from the crane. Celeste looked down at the child's handwriting. Eli left the room. The investigation reached its first major breakthrough the next morning. The blue residue from beneath the floor matched protective paint used inside mobile equipment cases supplied by one company, Northbridge Facilities. Northbridge handled Vera's conference room renovation. It also maintained the executive building's automation system. Adrian had personally approved an expanded Northbridge contract 3 months earlier. Celeste summoned the company's owner. He arrived with attorneys. Northbridge denied involvement. Its electronic records showed that no employees entered Vera after midnight on the night of the attack. Eli examined the access report. Your employees use mobile badges? Yes, the owner said. Can badges open doors without creating a central record? No, what happens during a network outage? They store entries locally and upload them later. Where are the local entries? The owner looked toward his attorney. Some controllers failed during the attack. Failed or were erased? We do not know. Eli placed a photograph of the rogue bridge on the table. This mounting clip came from one of your equipment cases. That design is common. The paint formulation is not. The attorney intervened. You are not a forensic specialist. No, then your conclusions are not admissible. Eli nodded. That does not make them wrong. Celeste watched the Northbridge owner. His right hand had begun tapping against the table. Who had access to the equipment cases? She asked. Dozens of technicians. Provide their names. That would violate employee privacy. I will obtain a court order. The owner looked at Adrian. Only briefly. Less than a second. Eli saw it. Celeste did too. After the meeting, she closed her office door. Why did he look at Adrian? Because Adrian controls the contract, or because he expected Adrian to help? Yes, Celeste paced toward the window. I need more than a glance. We'll find more. We? Eli looked at her. You hired me for 7 days. 3 remain. Then we have 3 days. She almost corrected him. Instead, she said, Nora has school tomorrow? Yes, who watches her afterward? Mrs. Alvarez. Does she charge you? Eli's expression changed. That is not relevant. I am asking because you have worked far beyond the contract hours. I will submit the hours. You have not. I will. You also edited the fee. We discussed that. No. You decided, and I allowed it, because I needed the investigation to continue. That sounds like discussion. Celeste crossed her arms. You dislike accepting help. Yes. Why? Because help becomes leverage. Not always, often enough. She understood that more than she wanted to admit. What if I am not asking to help you? What are you asking? To pay what the work is worth. Eli looked at her. Then pay everyone working overnight what their work is worth. Celeste frowned. What does that mean? The cleaning crew lost shifts when the building closed. Several security officers have worked double hours. The cafeteria staff are feeding the recovery teams, but they are classified as standard operations and receive no crisis bonus. You know all of this? They talk around me. Because you were one of them. Because I still am. Celeste looked toward the outer office. People moved between desks carrying cables, reports, and coffee. She knew the department heads. She did not know the names of most people keeping them awake and fed. Make a list, she said. Eli's eyes narrowed. A list of what? Everyone working outside their normal duty during the recovery. What will you do with it? Pay them. You do not need my permission. No, but apparently I needed you to notice. That evening, Nora arrived carrying a glass jar filled with folded paper cranes. Mrs. Alvarez had developed a fever, and Ellie had no replacement sitter. The security staff waved Nora through without searching the crackers in her backpack. She placed the jar on Celeste's desk. What is this? Celeste asked. Emergency cranes. How do they work? You pick one when something is bad. And then? You open it. Celeste selected a yellow crane. Inside, Nora had written, eat something. Celeste looked at Eli. Did you tell her I skipped lunch? I did not. You look hungry, Nora said. Celeste opened another. Ask a better question. The third said, people are not their worst day. Celeste closed the paper. Who taught you that? My dad. Eli looked surprised. I said something similar. You say too many words, Nora replied. I made it shorter. Celeste took Nora to the executive kitchen. The refrigerator contained bottled water, fruit, and several meals arranged by date. Nora examined everything. Do rich people not have cereal? I have cereal at home. You live somewhere else? Yes, why? Celeste looked toward Eli. He was speaking with the security director outside. Because this is an office. It has a bedroom upstairs. You explored? I saw the directory. Celeste opened a prepared meal. Nora sat at the island. Do you have kids? No. Do you want them? That is personal. Nora nodded seriously. You're right. She waited 7 seconds. Do you get lonely? Celeste almost laughed. That is also personal. I'm not good at the rule. No, Nora watched her place the meal in the microwave. Dad gets lonely. He told you that? No, he cleans when he is lonely. Celeste glanced through the doorway. Eli stood with one hand in his pocket, listening to an officer describe access logs. What do you do when you are lonely? Nora asked. Work. That is worse. Celeste turned. Nora's face held no judgment, only certainty. Why? Because when Dad cleans, the apartment gets better. When you work, you look more tired. The microwave signaled. Celeste placed the meal on the counter. Nora pointed toward the jar. You should open another. Celeste chose a blue crane. Inside were 4 words. Say what you mean. Celeste looked at Nora. The child had already started eating crackers. That night, after Nora fell asleep in the employee lounge, Celeste found Eli near the rebuilding lab. You asked why I dislike accepting help, he said before she could speak. Celeste waited. He checked a recovered file on the monitor. When Dana died, people came to the apartment. They brought food. They watched Nora. They told me to call any time. His voice remained quiet. A few weeks later, I began calling. Celeste understood before he continued. Most were busy. Eli said. They had lives. I don't blame them. But I learned that help is often offered for the person giving it. Accepting it is different. Not everyone leaves. No, Mrs. Alvarez stayed. Yes, Nora stayed. She had limited options. Celeste smiled slightly. And you stayed here after I insulted you. You had a network breach. That is not an explanation. It is. No, it is the reason you entered the server room. It is not the reason you continued after security treated you like a suspect. Eli turned from the monitor. I know what it feels like when one overlooked warning changes everything. Dana? Yes, Celeste waited. The night she died. The highway monitoring system showed ice forming on the bridge 20 minutes before the crash. The warning never reached the traffic signs because a communication relay had been marked non-critical. You designed systems like that. I did. Was it your system? No. But you still blame yourself. Eli looked at the monitor. I told her work needed me. That is not the same as causing the crash. No. You know that. Yes, do you believe it? He did not answer. Celeste understood. Knowledge and belief were often strangers. My mother cleaned offices, she said. Eli looked up. She brought me to work at night. I used to sleep beneath conference tables while she polished the rooms. She paused. I called you just a janitor because the board was watching. I wanted them to see that I controlled the room. And I proved that I belonged at the table by treating you like someone who did not. Eli remained silent. My mother would have been ashamed of me. You made a mistake. I knew exactly what I was saying. That does not mean it has to become the only true thing about you. Celeste remembered the crane. People are not their worst day. Your daughter said that. She improves my material. Celeste looked toward the dark lounge where Nora slept. Does she know how much you blame yourself? No. Children notice quiet things too. Eli's expression changed. Before he could answer, an alarm appeared on the recovery monitor. A new file had entered the isolated development repository. The system labeled it as an approved Sentinel security library. Eli opened the metadata. The file had been signed with Celeste's executive certificate. I did not approve anything, she said. I know. Can someone copy my certificate? Not without access to your secure token. My token is in the office safe. They ran. The safe showed no forced entry. Celeste opened it. The secure token remained inside. Eli connected it to an offline reader. The device identification did not match the token that signed the malicious file. Someone cloned the certificate, Celeste said, or issued a second one. Only security administration can do that, and operations can authorize an emergency executive credential. Celeste's face went still. Adrian, they checked the authorization history. The second executive credential had been issued 6 weeks earlier. The request carried Adrian's approval. The recipient field contained Eli's employee number. Celeste stared at the screen. The room seemed to tilt. They used your identity, she said. Eli read the record again. His personnel file showed that he requested temporary technology access during overnight cleaning. The application included his old engineering ARSM, the one Vera's recruiting system had rejected. The authorization appeared complete. Signed, dated, false. This is why you were hired, Celeste whispered. Eli looked at her. What? Your application was rejected from technology. Then you were offered a cleaning position in the same building. That happens. Not this quickly. Not at Vera. You believe someone placed me here? They needed an employee with technical history, night access, and no executive relationships. A person they could blame. Celeste's phone rang. Adrian, she let it ring. You need to leave the building, she said. No, Eli. The evidence identifies you. False evidence. The board will not know that. Then we prove it. Security may arrest you. I did not do anything. That has never prevented an arrest. He looked toward the employee lounge. Nora was asleep inside. For the first time since Celeste met him, fear entered his face. Not for himself. For her. Celeste opened a cabinet and removed her coat. We are leaving. Where? My residence. That will look worse. It has an independent security system and no Northbridge access. You cannot hide a suspect. I am protecting a consultant while verifying evidence. That sentence will not survive 5 minutes in court. Then we have 4. She woke Nora gently. The child opened her eyes. Is something bad? Celeste remembered the jar. Yes. Did you open a crane? Not yet. Nora reached inside the jar and handed her a white one. Celeste opened it. Don't let scared people choose fast. Celeste closed her hand around the paper. They left through the private elevator. Adrian arrived at the rebuilding lab 9 minutes later with security officers. Eli was gone. So was the copied credential report. By morning, the story had reached the press. A former network engineer working as a Vera janitor was suspected of enabling the attack and then presenting himself as the person who stopped it. Anonymous sources claimed Eli had manipulated Celeste into hiring him as an investigator. The board called an emergency meeting. Adrian requested Celeste's temporary removal, arguing that her personal involvement with the suspect compromised her judgment. The vote failed by 1. Halcyon suspended negotiations. Vera's stock fell 31%. At Celeste's residence, Eli watched the report on television. Nora sat beside him. The news showed an old employment photograph beside images of the Vera attack. The presenter used words like disgraced, deceptive, and calculated. Nora looked at Eli. Are they allowed to lie? They believe what they were told. That does not answer it. No, they should not lie. Are you going to jail? Celeste stood near the window. No, she said. Eli looked at her. You cannot promise that. Yes, I can. No, you cannot. Nora looked between them. Celeste lowered her voice. I will not let Adrian use him. Eli stood. This is not your decision. He attacked my company and framed me, which makes it my responsibility. No, it makes it my life. Celeste turned. What do you expect me to do? Let me speak to investigators. They already believe the evidence. Running confirms it. I did not bring you here to run. What did you bring me here for? Celeste did not answer quickly enough. Eli understood. To control the situation, to protect you. Those are not always different. You have a daughter, which is why I cannot teach her that powerful people can hide us whenever the truth becomes inconvenient. Celeste's anger rose. I am risking my company for you. I never asked you to. The words struck harder than he intended. Nora looked down. Celeste's expression closed. There it is, she said. What? The reason people do not help you. Eli became still. You punish them for trying, and you decide what everyone needs before they can refuse. At least I stay. Do you? The room went silent. Celeste stared at him. Eli regretted the question immediately, but he did not withdraw it. You stay when you are in control, he said. You stay when the plan belongs to you. The moment someone chooses differently, you turn them into an obstacle. Celeste's face lost color. Nora stood. Stop. Both adults looked at her. You are doing the fighting thing. Eli closed his eyes. Nora, no. You both do it. She pointed at Celeste. You are scared he will leave. Then she pointed at Eli. You are scared she will make you owe her. Neither answered. Nora's voice shook. And I am scared the police will take Dad, but nobody asked me. Celeste lowered herself into the chair across from her. You are right. Nora wiped one eye with her sleeve. What happens now? Celeste looked at Eli. This time she did not decide for him. What do you want to do? I want to meet the investigators with an attorney. I can arrange one. I will repay the cost. Celeste almost argued. She stopped. Agreed, and you need to examine your security administration records without me. Why without you? Because someone will claim I changed them. She nodded. What else? Keep Nora here during the interview. Nora looked at Celeste. Can I stay? Yes, even if Dad goes to jail? Eli crouched beside her. I am coming back. You don't know. No, he took her hands. But I will tell the truth. Celeste will stay with you until we know what happens. Nora looked at Celeste. Will you? Celeste felt the full meaning of the question. Not for an hour, not until work called, not while convenient. Yes, she said, I will stay. Eli surrendered voluntarily that afternoon. Investigators questioned him for 9 hours. He was not arrested, but his movements were restricted while forensic teams examined his devices and financial records. The press treated the lack of arrest as a technical delay. Adrian treated it as proof that Celeste had become reckless. The board scheduled a second removal vote for Thursday morning, one day before the proposed halcyon sale. Celeste remained at the residence with Nora. At first, she tried to work. Nora sat across from her drawing paper cranes from old financial forecasts. After 20 minutes, Nora asked, Are you staying with me or staying near me? Celeste looked up. What is the difference? Dad stays with me. Babysitters stay near me. Celeste closed the laptop. What would you like to do? Nora considered this. Do you know how to make grilled cheese? Yes. Are you sure? No. They went to the kitchen. Celeste burned the first sandwich. Nora ate it anyway. After dinner, Nora found the old upright piano in the sitting room. Do you play? I used to. Why did you stop? Celeste rested one hand on the closed lid. My mother taught me. Did she die? Yes, Nora nodded. My mom died too. I know. Dad does not like talking about it. Some things hurt when spoken. They hurt when nobody speaks too. Celeste looked at her. You sound older than 8. Mrs. Alvarez says I'm nosy. That is different. Nora opened the piano. Play something. Celeste sat. Her fingers found a simple melody her mother used to hum while cleaning offices. She had not played it in 16 years. The notes came slowly. Nora folded a crane while listening. When Celeste finished, Nora placed it on the piano. What does this one say? Celeste asked. You open it later. The security audit produced its answer at 2:18 the following morning. Celeste was asleep on the sofa beside Nora when her phone rang. Vera's head of internal security spoke quickly. The emergency credential request assigned to Eli had entered the system from Adrian's office, but Adrian's badge record showed he was in London at the time. Celeste sat upright. Then someone used his office. Possibly who had access? Executive assistants, security, cleaning personnel? That still points toward Eli. Yes, except the request was approved with Adrian's biometric confirmation. Could that be copied? Not remotely. Then Adrian approved it. Or someone used his registered security key and fingerprint. Celeste looked toward Nora. The child was still asleep. Where is the security key kept? Adrian carries it. Was it used in London? Yes, the answer made no sense. The same key could not be in 2 places. Unless there were 2 keys. Check replacement requests, Celeste said. 10 minutes later, security found one. Adrian had reported his key damaged 7 months earlier. A new one was issued. The old device was supposed to be destroyed. The destruction record had been signed by Northbridge Facilities. Northbridge claimed the device was physically crushed. No photograph existed. No hardware serial confirmation. The old key had remained active. Celeste called Eli's attorney. By 4 a.m, investigators knew the credential evidence against Eli had been manufactured. But they still lacked proof that Adrian ordered the attack. Eli returned to the residence shortly before sunrise. Nora woke when she heard the door. She ran across the room. Eli caught her. He always caught her. Celeste stood near the stairs, watching him hold his daughter. The embrace was not dramatic. It was necessary. Nora pulled back. Did you tell the truth? Yes. Did they believe you? Eventually, she nodded. That happens a lot. Eli looked toward Celeste. You stayed. Yes. The words carried more than the hours between them. He set Nora down. Celeste held out the paper crane Nora had left on the piano. I was told to open this later. Eli unfolded it. Inside, Nora had written, Home is who comes back. Eli read it twice. Celeste looked away first. The final evidence came from the cleaning crew. Eli returned to Vera with investigators and interviewed the overnight workers, not as suspects, but as witnesses. A woman named Maribel remembered seeing a Northbridge equipment case outside Adrian's office 2 nights before the attack. A floor technician named Darius remembered that Adrian had ordered the executive corridor closed for an unscheduled air quality inspection. Another cleaner had found a broken blue plastic seal in the trash. She had saved it because it could damage the vacuum. The seal carried a partial equipment number. It matched the case that held the rogue bridge. Security footage from a nearby loading dock showed the case entering Vera in Adrian's vehicle. The evidence was enough for a warrant. Investigators searched Adrian's home and found encrypted communications with Halcyon's acquisition director. The plan was careful. Damage Vera's systems. Trigger the lending clauses. Force Celeste to accept a sale at a reduced valuation. Adrian would become executive chairman of the merged infrastructure division and receive compensation worth more than $60 million. The attack was never supposed to destroy Vera completely. It was supposed to frighten the board. The rogue bridge malfunctioned and spread farther than planned. Eli's shutdown prevented Adrian's controlled crisis from becoming total collapse. Celeste read the communications alone in her office. Adrian had described her as emotionally attached to failed projects. He told Halcyon she would resist until resistance became irresponsible. In one message, he wrote that Celeste's greatest weakness was her need to prove she could survive without anyone. He knew her well. That was how he hurt her. Security arrested Adrian before the Thursday board meeting. He asked to speak with Celeste. She refused at first. Then she changed her mind. Adrian sat in a small conference room without his jacket or phone. 2 investigators waited outside. Celeste entered alone. He looked exhausted. "I did not intend for the system to spread that far," he said. She remained standing. "That is your defense?" "No. You risked hospitals, public agencies, and emergency networks. The demonstration environment was supposed to be isolated. You knew Sentinel was connected to customer simulations. I was told the failsafes would contain it." "By whom?" "Halcyon's security contractor." Celeste laughed once. There was no humor in it. "You trusted the company buying us to control the damage." "I was trying to save Vera." "You keep saying that." "Because it is true. You tried to sell it. You would not accept reality." "What reality?" "That your projects were draining cash, that investors were losing patience, that you could no longer separate the company from your identity, and you decided betrayal was leadership. I decided survival mattered more than your approval." Celeste looked at him. For 11 years, Adrian had stood beside her. She had trusted him more than any director, investor, or partner. Perhaps that was why he believed he had the right to choose her future. "My mother used to say, people reveal what they value when they are frightened," Celeste said. Adrian lowered his eyes. "You valued control. So did you." Yes, she did not defend herself. "I became someone who believed building the company gave me permission to reduce people to their use. You believed helping build it gave you permission to own it." Adrian looked at her. "What happens now? You cooperate with investigators. And Vera?" "We rebuild. Without Halcyon, you have days before the lenders act." "We found another path." He smiled sadly. "No one gives $800 million without control. We do not need $800 million. You cannot restore the company with optimism." "No." Celeste moved toward the door. "We are restoring it with the people you never counted." The board meeting began at 9. Every seat was filled. Federal observers joined remotely. Lenders attended. Major customers listened through a secure broadcast. Celeste did not begin with Adrian's arrest. She began with Eli. 8 days ago, she said, I dismissed a warning because it came from a man wearing a janitorial uniform. Eli sat beside Nora in the back of the room. Celeste continued, I believed the urgency of my meeting mattered more than the evidence he placed in front of me. Minutes later, that man prevented an attack from destroying the final clean portion of Vera's platform. She looked directly toward him. He did not save this company because he was secretly too talented to be a janitor. That would be the wrong lesson. The room became quiet. He saved it because the work he performed taught him to notice what everyone else ignored. The dust around a screw. The heat beneath the floor. The mark left by a case no executive would have seen. Celeste placed the Rogue Bridge photograph on the screen. Veyra's failure was not only technical, it was cultural. We built systems designed to detect hidden risks while ignoring the people closest to those risks. She introduced the evidence against Adrian and the Halcyon contractors. Then she explained Veyra's recovery plan. The reconstructed Sentinel platform was operational in a closed test environment. Instead of accepting Halcyon's controlling investment, Veyra had secured commitments from 3 public infrastructure funds, 2 hospital networks, and an employee ownership trust. The amount was smaller. It was enough. Veyra would remain independent. No department would be sold. The rural hospital program would continue. The accessibility laboratory would remain open. The board approved the plan, 9-0. The lenders extended the deadline. Major customers agreed to stay. The company's share value did not recover that day. Real recovery was slower than headlines. But Veyra survived. Adrian lost his position without Celeste humiliating him. Halcyon withdrew. The executives who helped conceal the attack resigned. The workers who provided evidence received the company's public recognition award, though Maribel requested that hers come with additional paid vacation instead of a glass trophy. Celeste approved both. Eli's name was cleared. Veyra offered him a senior security position. He declined it. Celeste called him into her office after reading the refusal. "You do not want the job?" "I do not want that job. It triples your salary. I saw the number. You would lead physical network security. I do not want to spend my life responding after systems fail. What do you want?" Eli placed a document on her desk. It described a new division built around a simple idea. The employees closest to a system often recognized danger before management did. Cleaning crews saw moved equipment. Maintenance workers heard motors change. Receptionists noticed unfamiliar visitors. Drivers identified loading patterns. Cafeteria staff overheard conversations. Yet most companies offered no safe way for those people to report concerns without being dismissed or punished. Eli proposed the Quiet Signal program. Every Veyra employee, regardless of title, could report technical, physical, or ethical risks directly to an independent review team. The program would also offer paid training for support staff who wanted to move into technology, logistics, or administration. No automated system could reject an internal applicant without a human review. Celeste read the proposal. "You named it after Nora's crane. She named it. Does she receive royalties? She requested unlimited office hot chocolate. That may cost more." Eli smiled. Celeste closed the proposal. "You would lead this? For 1 year. Why only 1? I want to know whether I'm building a useful program or another department that exists to make executives feel good. You remain difficult. I have been told." She looked toward the purple crane on her desk. "You could also return to engineering." "I might. You are qualified. I know." The certainty in his voice pleased her, not because she had given it to him, because he had recovered it himself. "There is another condition," Eli said. Celeste waited. "The overnight workers receive representation on the Safety Council." "Agreed. Paid training occurs during working hours." "Agreed. Managers who retaliate against reports are removed from the program." "Agreed. You are accepting too quickly. I learned not to interrupt a janitor when he is warning me." Eli's expression softened. "That joke needs work." "It was not a joke." "I know." He signed the contract. Quiet Signal changed Veyra faster than anyone expected. In its first month, employees reported 3 cooling failures, an unsafe loading procedure, 2 software access problems, and a supplier using false inspection certificates. None became a crisis. That was the point. Maribel entered a cybersecurity training course. Darius moved into facilities engineering. The cafeteria supervisor discovered she had an unusual talent for logistics planning and eventually joined the emergency supply division. Veyra's recruiting system was rewritten. Applications were no longer rejected because someone's most recent job did not match their earlier experience. Celeste required every executive to spend 1 shift each quarter with the support team. The policy was deeply unpopular. She kept it. Her own first shift was with the overnight cleaning crew. Maribel handed her a cart. "You know how to use this?" "No. That is obvious." By midnight, Celeste's back hurt. By 1, She had learned that glass conference walls collected fingerprints faster when executives were nervous. She also learned that employees left confidential reports in trash bins, blocked emergency vents with furniture, and expected cleaning workers to correct problems they never reported. At 2 a.m, Ellie arrived to collect her. Celeste wore a gray cleaning uniform and held a trash liner. He looked at her for several seconds. "Do not say it. I was going to ask whether you are qualified. I can have your contract reviewed." There she is. They walked toward the elevator. "You did not need to collect me," Celeste said. Nora insisted. "Where is she? Asleep in the car with Mrs. Alvarez? You left your sleeping daughter in a car?" "With Mrs. Alvarez in the secured garage. For 4 minutes. I was preparing to judge you. I noticed." The elevator doors closed. Celeste leaned against the wall. "I apologized to Maribel." "For what?" "For not knowing her name." "What did she say?" "She said an apology was useful if it changed payroll." Eli smiled. "She is wise. I approved the overnight wage adjustment. That was not why she said it." "I know." Outside the building, rain had begun falling. Eli opened an umbrella. Celeste stepped beneath it. Their shoulders touched. Neither moved away. The relationship between them did not change suddenly. There was no single moment when suspicion became trust, or trust became affection. It happened through repetition. Eli arrived when he said he would. Celeste asked instead of ordering. Nora visited the office and left cranes in drawers, conference rooms, and once inside the chief financial officer's briefcase. Celeste began eating dinner with them on Wednesday evenings. At first, the dinners happened in Vera's executive dining room. Then Nora declared the room too shiny. They moved to Eli's apartment. Celeste sat at the small kitchen table beneath a light that flickered whenever the microwave operated. She ate Mrs. Alvarez's soup. She helped Nora build a model bridge for school. She noticed Dana's photograph beside the window. Eli saw her looking. "You can ask." Celeste remained quiet. Then she said, "Would she have liked me?" Eli considered the question honestly. "Not at first." Celeste laughed. That was quick. She distrusted powerful people. She sounds intelligent. She also believed everybody deserved a second meal before being judged. "Meal?" "Meeting. I preferred meal." "She probably would have liked you after dinner." Celeste looked at Dana's photograph. "I do not want to replace her." Eli's face changed. "You couldn't." "I know, she is not a position." Celeste nodded. "I also do not want Nora to believe she has to accept me, because you do." Eli looked toward the bedroom where Nora was changing into pajamas. "That sounds like something you have been thinking about." "Yes. Why?" "Because she matters to you." The words were simple. They frightened her more than a board vote. Eli sat across from her. "What am I to you?" Celeste could negotiate acquisitions, litigation settlements, and government contracts without hesitation. This question left her unprepared. "You are the person who argues with me most consistently." "Romantic?" you asked. "I did." She looked down at her hands. "You see me when I am wrong. Everyone does." "You remain." "Not everyone does." Celeste raised her eyes. "I do not know what to call that." Nora appeared in the doorway wearing pajamas covered in stars. "Are you talking about whether you like each other?" Eli sighed. "You were supposed to brush your teeth." "I did." "For 8 seconds?" 9. Celeste tried not to smile. Nora climbed into the empty chair. "You like Dad." Celeste looked at her. "Yes, Dad likes you." Eli rubbed one hand over his face. "Nora, what? You do." Celeste looked toward him. He did not deny it. Nora continued. "You both make everything complicated." "You are 8, Eli said. "I will be 9 soon. That does not strengthen your authority. It strengthens it a little." Celeste laughed. Nora pointed between them. "You do not have to get married tomorrow. You can just be people who like each other." Celeste looked at Eli. "That seems manageable." "For 1 day," he said. "And after that?" We discussed the next one. It was not a promise of forever. It was better. It was a promise made honestly. Celeste reached across the table. Eli placed his hand over hers. Nora smiled. "Good. Now can we have ice cream?" 6 months after the attack, Vera launched the rebuilt Sentinel mesh. The demonstration took place inside the same conference room. The damaged floor panel had been replaced. Celeste asked that one screw remain marked with a thin gray circle. A reminder. The new system successfully isolated 12 simulated infrastructure attacks. Federal agencies approved the platform. Hospital networks expanded their contracts. Vera's valuation rose above its pre-attack level. The business press called Celeste's recovery one of the most dramatic corporate reversals of the year. She disliked the word recovery. It made the company's survival sound like a single heroic act. The truth was less dramatic. Thousands of people had rebuilt code, restored trust, examined equipment, answered customer calls, prepared food, guarded doors, and cleaned rooms. An empire had not been saved by one person. It had been saved because one person noticed something small, and others finally chose to listen. At the launch, Celeste invited Eli to stand beside her. He refused. This is your presentation. It is our program. Quiet signal is one part. The part that prevented 3 failures this quarter. Maribel should stand beside you. She is. Maribel stood on Celeste's other side wearing a dark suit and an expression suggesting she would rather be anywhere else. Eli agreed. Nora sat in the front row beside Mrs. Alvarez. Celeste began the presentation without dramatic music or promotional language. She told the truth. She told the audience that Vera's greatest security failure began long before the cyber attack. It began when the company decided some voices mattered more than others. She did not hide her own role. I called the man who warned me just a janitor, she said. Minutes later, he saved the only clean portion of our system. Cameras turned toward Eli. He looked uncomfortable. Nora looked proud. Celeste continued. I once believed leadership meant being the most important person in the room. I was wrong. Leadership means recognizing that the most important information may come from the person everyone else has stopped seeing. After the presentation, reporters surrounded them. One asked Eli how it felt to rise from janitor to executive. Eli corrected him. I did not rise from being a janitor. I changed jobs. The reporter appeared confused. Eli continued. There is nothing lower about cleaning a building. The problem was never the work. The problem was how people treated the worker. Celeste watched him. That answer became the most shared clip from the launch. That evening, after the crowds left, they returned to the empty conference room. Nora placed a clear glass jar on the table. It contained dozens of paper cranes. What are these? Celeste asked. Good emergency cranes. How is that different? You open them when something good is scary. Celeste selected one. Inside, Nora had written, You can be happy before everything is perfect. Eli read over her shoulder. She has been talking to Mrs. Alvarez. I wrote it myself, Nora said. Celeste folded the paper. Beyond the glass, Chicago's light stretched toward the lake. Vera was safe. But not perfect. Companies were never perfect. Neither were people. The attack had not erased Celeste's need for control. Eli's new position had not removed his fear of depending on others. Nora still woke some nights, asking whether her father would disappear. Healing did not replace old wounds. It taught people how to stop organizing their lives around them. Celeste looked at Eli. What happens tomorrow? Budget meeting at 9. That was not what I meant. I know. Nora rolled her eyes. Complicated. Eli smiled. Then he turned toward Celeste. Tomorrow I bring Nora to school. You argue with the finance team. We meet for dinner. And after dinner, we decide the next day. Celeste moved closer. I can work with that. Their kiss was quiet. Nora covered her eyes with both hands but left enough space between her fingers to watch. Years later, visitors to Vera's headquarters often asked about the gray circle surrounding one screw in the executive conference room floor. New employees were told the story during orientation. Not the polished version. The full one. They were told about the attack. The rogue bridge. The corrupted archive. The executive who dismissed a warning. The janitor who noticed what others missed. And the thousands of people who rebuilt the company after Pride nearly destroyed it. Quiet Signal expanded beyond Vera. Hospitals, airports, manufacturers, and public agencies adopted the program. Workers who once remained invisible began identifying failures before those failures became disasters. Eli eventually returned to engineering full-time, but he kept his old gray uniform inside his office, not as evidence of where he had risen from, as evidence that dignity had never belonged to a title. Celeste kept the purple crane on her desk. The paper faded over time. One wing remained slightly bent from the morning it fell from Eli's pocket. She never replaced it. Some objects mattered because they survived imperfectly. Nora grew taller. She stopped needing Mrs. Alvarez every afternoon. She learned to build real circuits instead of drawing imaginary machines. She continued folding cranes, although she denied doing it whenever Eli found one inside his coat. On the anniversary of the attack, she placed a final crane beside Celeste's computer. Celeste opened it after everyone went home. Inside were 5 words. You saw him in time. Celeste sat alone for a long moment. Then she turned the paper over and wrote beneath Nora's sentence. He taught M.E. how to look. She carried the crane to the building's lower level, where Eli was helping a group of trainees examine a cooling system. He still checked the quiet things, the faint vibration, the unusual heat, the dust where dust should not be. Celeste waited until he finished. Then she handed him the crane. He read both messages. You make it sound like I rescued you, he said. You did not. Good, you interrupted me. That sounds more accurate. You forced me to notice what I had become. I warned you about a network cabinet. You are determined to ruin the moment. I am managing expectations. Celeste took his hand. This was never about one man rescuing a powerful woman. No. It was about what happened when 2 people stopped measuring each other by the worst thing they had become. Eli looked at the crane. Celeste had treated people as titles. Eli had treated help as danger. Both had reasons. Neither had excuses. Their future was not built from a billionaire's gratitude or a janitor's sacrifice. It was built from refusal. His refusal to ignore a warning because speaking might cost him his job. Her refusal to protect her pride after the truth exposed it. Their refusal to let betrayal make trust impossible. And the steady insistence of a child who understood before either adult that home was not a building, a company, or a perfect life. Home was who came back. Eli placed the crane inside his shirt pocket, the same place he had carried the first one on the morning the screens went black. Celeste looked toward the pipes and cables running above them. Anything wrong down here? Eli switched on Dana's old flashlight. The cracked glass cast an uneven circle across the wall. Nothing yet. Yet? He smiled. Systems need attention. So do people. That sounds like something Nora told you. She improves my material. Together they walked toward the elevator. Behind them, Vera's machines continued their quiet work. No alarms, no headlines, no disaster waiting to be stopped. Only thousands of small systems functioning because someone had finally learned to respect the people close enough to notice when they changed. And on the desk above them, beside the plans for a billion-dollar company's future, a glass jar waited with one paper crane left inside. If this story stayed with you, subscribe and share it with someone whose value has ever been reduced to a uniform, a paycheck, or a job title. And tell me below, would you have listened to Eli before the screens went dark?